What's going on, guys? This is episode 8 of the Weekly Take podcast. We are back after like a 2-week drought. Some stuff got in the way, but other than that, we're just going to jump right into the week overview, then go into the Weekly Take picks for the NFL. And then I have another segment on the show that is going to be what team would win. So basically, I'm taking Super Bowl teams that didn't end up playing each other, that are both in the NFC and AFC, and comparing the rosters and seeing who would win. So I think this is going to be a really fun thing to do. I chose an example of 2 matchups for you guys to see. I'm going to go over the NBA standings and NBA stats and some NBA drama. There's a lot of drama going on. It's just the NBA. The NBA thrives off stuff like that, I think. The NFL is more, you're not as connected to the players as you are to the NBA to me, because, there's so many guys on the field. They have stuff on them. The NBA, you're almost in it. So I think that's why the drama carries a little more in the NBA. And maybe that's why I like to cover it a little more. I know I do more NFL things, but the NBA always has a story, whether it be someone looked at someone wrong and that person could leave the team the next week. The NFL, it's like, okay, this guy looked at me wrong. They don't leave the team. So to move in, let's talk about NFL Week 10. To start off, the Carolina Panthers against the Pittsburgh Steelers, it ended up 52-21. Man, I picked the Panthers because I have this Steeler hatred as a Ravens fan and as a fan of the Seahawks as well. Living in Seattle, I have like a double hatred for the Steelers. The Steelers are looking tough. To really put it in perspective, the Steelers' offense is firing. James Conner's legit. AB is going to do his thing. Big Ben's slinging the ball. I just think it's more of a team effort right now. I do really wish Le'Veon Bell was out there as an NFL fan because he is fun to watch. But really, it's just the Steelers right now are just firing, and I think they're just really getting everything together because after they got trounced on by Baltimore, they had a slow start. They tied with Cleveland. I think everyone was kind of just like already like, oh, the Steelers are done. But I don't think they're necessarily done, especially on how they played the Panthers last Thursday, November 8th. They were home, and, Heinz Field is a big area to go and play. And for the Panthers, I thought they were really, looking really good, and they just didn't. They looked slow on the ball. Offensively, defensively, Pittsburgh was just all over them. So yeah, Pittsburgh ends up winning this 52-21 for NFL Week 10. To keep in mind, the Ravens, Broncos, Texans, and Vikings were on bye this week. So if I don't talk about them, that is exactly why I like to talk about every team in this podcast. Moving into the Saints and Bengals, the Saints made the Bengals look like how I thought the Bengals looked in the beginning of the year. I did not think the Bengals would be good. After they came and whooped on Baltimore, as a Baltimore fan, I know I keep bringing them up, but they just looked fantastic. And the Bengals, that offense was looking good. Joe Mixon's running the ball good. And that defense, they have a good defense in the middle, both defensive line-wise. Their secondary is probably their weakness. But, that defensive line is going to, make it easier on those corners so they don't have to run as long. And, I just really think that defensive line is the heart of that defense. And the Saints took advantage of that. Their offensive line got Drew Brees a whole bunch of time, and he was able to put up 51. The run game got going. They just made the Bengals look pretty bad. So the Saints win this one in Cincinnati, 51-14. Moving into the Falcons at Browns. Baker Mayfield woke up that morning and he said he was feeling pretty special. And to be honest, these 28 points he ended up scoring is pretty special. I know he's not responsible for everything, but he's the quarterback, so he's going to get the majority share of the blame, and he's going to get majority share of the victory. So the Browns win this one 28-16 against the Falcons. The Falcons looked really one-dimensional. Tevin Coleman the last week got really good running yards, and he was really doing a really good job. And then this week, the Browns said, we're not going to let you run. We're going to make you throw it. And you put 2 guys on Julio, maybe even 3 guys on Julio. We're going to make other people try to get open. Calvin really did a good job. Mohamed Sanu did a good job, but it just looked like they were really one-dimensional, and the air raid was not working for the Falcons this week in Cleveland. Cleveland wins this game 28-16 in Cleveland in the dog pound. Moving into the Detroit Lions against the Chicago Bears. Sorry, I kind of had like a little moment there. The Bears win this one at home 34-22. The Bears are looking fantastic. I think they're going to take this division unless Aaron Rodgers, somehow squeaks his way in and takes the division, but I don't think it's going to happen this year. I think the Bears are going to take this division. This was a divisional game. The Lions, I don't really like the Lions. I've never really been a big fan of the Lions ever since Calvin Johnson left. After he left, I was like, well, okay, they just lost Golden Tate. I think the Lions are just basically saying, fuck it. I know they're not going to be the worst team, but I mean, they could be having their eyes on people in the draft. I know it's the NFL. People don't like to just tank like that, but I think the Lions are like that. The Bears defense looks fantastic. Mitchell Trubisky threw like 4 touchdowns. The Bears are looking really good this year. The Bears defense is good. Their offense is good. Their special teams is good. The NFC North is a tough division this year for the other teams that have to play the Bears. So the Bears win this one 34-22. Moving into the Cardinals at Chiefs, the Cardinals kind of hung on there for a second. Like, I was proud of them. I was like, oh, David Johnson, he's doing really good. And then, the Chiefs kind of showed they were the better team. Going into Kansas City, it's one of the loudest stadiums in the NFL. You got all these fans who haven't seen this team in a long, long time. So they're, they got the bandwagons, they got the true hard fans. That stadium is roaring right now. Moving in, the Cardinals just couldn't really get anything going. I don't really blame them. The Kansas City Chiefs, probably the best team, arguably in the league, behind LA, or even tied with LA. I just really think the Chiefs are going to go far this year. I think it could possibly just be the Chiefs in New England and the AFC Championship if New England continues to play like they did last week, not this week. So Chiefs win this game 26-14 in Kansas City. Moving back into the Patriots, like I was just saying, the Patriots ended up losing by the Titans by 24 points in Tennessee. Marcus Mariota was firing. All their some no-name receivers that people probably don't really know were catching balls. Their run game was going. Derrick Henry was doing good. Patriots just looked weak. Deion Lewis did good. In Tennessee, he called out the Patriots for being cheap. That's what you get, and I think, maybe it was a vengeance game. Maybe the whole team wanted to win for Deion Lewis. I don't know, but the Patriots just did not look good. Tom Brady had like 9 fantasy points. I know that's not a good judgment to, do overall performance, but he had like 9 points. He couldn't get anything going. So, yeah, Titans ended up winning this one 34-10. Tennessee's defensive line was getting to Tom Brady. Even if they weren't hitting him as much as people thought they were getting fire. They were lighting fire under his ass. So, moving into, Tennessee wins this one 34-10 in Tennessee. Moving into the Redskins at Bucs game, Redskins ended up going into Tampa Bay and winning 16-3. Washington's defense is fantastic. They didn't look too good last week, but this week they played the Buccaneers, and the Buccaneers are kind of almost probably the bottom 4 teams in the league. I don't really blame the Redskins for winning this game. I don't mean blame, but you know what I mean. It's like they should have won this game. Tampa Bay's quarterback situation's in a funk. Mike Evans is the really good player, but he can't get him the ball. Deshaun Jackson, you look at that team. You look at Mike Evans, Deshaun Jackson, O.J. Howard, Jameis Winston, or even Ryan Fitzpatrick. You're like, damn, this team should be really, really good, but they're not. So moving into that, the Bills game ended up trouncing on the Jets 41-10. And I did not think this would happen. In the beginning of the year, I kind of thought the Jets would be more of like the lower mid, not the lower. The Bills, I thought, were the lower. I thought this was just going to be a low scoring, like 16-10 game. But the Bills ended up putting 41 points on the Jets, and I thought the Jets' defense was the more strong suit. But we're seeing why they picked Sam Darnold in the beginning. They're getting their offense going. I say in a couple years they'll be fine. I just really think the Bills looked really fantastic. I didn't watch this game. It was not on TV for me. But I looked at these highlights and I watched this, I looked at the score and I can be like, damn, the Bills just fucking won by 31 against the Jets at New York. Wow, that's a pretty impressive win, even if it is the Jets. If you win by 31 points in the NFL, you're pretty legit. And if the Bills keep this up, maybe they could sneak a couple against New England or Miami or something. Moving into the Jags at Colts. The Colts ended up winning 29-26 in Indianapolis. What is going on with the fucking Jags? The Jags were in the divisional playoffs last year against the Pittsburgh Steelers and almost won. What the hell? You guys got the fucking... Is it Blake Bortles? Is it your receivers? Is it... Who is it? Your defense is phenomenal. That should be enough to carry you at least a couple more wins, but if you guys can't even stop Andrew Luck and T.Y. Hilton from scoring, I don't know what to do. I know they got Eric Ebron. He's fantastic signing. Marlon Mack's really good, but hey, I mean, I shouldn't be sleeping on the Colts after how they beat them, but like still, like the Jags are not this bad. It's just I'm super confused on why the Colts won, because the Jags on paper are the better team, but the Colts played very well in home, and the Colts ended up winning this game. That's really all I have to really say about this game. So I gotta go. I just gotta give it to Indianapolis for this game. So they ended up winning 29-26. Moving into the LA Chargers at Raiders, this was a game I was like, okay, if the Chargers don't win this, I am gonna like eat a shoe kind of game. I don't ever pick Oakland, especially after this year with John Gruden getting rid of Khalil Mack, getting rid of Mark Cooper. That was not a terrible trade. It could work out in the long run, and I get it because they're like fuck it, let's just restart. But the Raiders are horrible this year. The Chargers they've only lost to Kansas City and LA. I know that's not an excuse, but the Chargers look fantastic. That offense is great. Phillip Rivers has always been a very great quarterback, and he's always kind of been under the shadow of Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Tom Brady. He's always been like the above average quarterback, but doesn't get enough credit because he doesn't have the flashiness as like these guys. Drew Brees has a story and he's shorter. Tom Brady's got the 5 Super Bowls. Aaron Rodgers is the GOAT. They got all these things. Russell Wilson can run outside the pocket. Phillip Rivers has always stayed to who he is. And I think that's why I've always liked Phillip Rivers. Yes, he's very emotional and he's kind of a dickhead sometimes. But you know what? He's getting into the game. He's into it. That's what you should be in the NFL. So Chargers ended up winning this 20-6 in Oakland. Next game, this was a very good game. I watched the entirety of this game. Seahawks at Rams. And the Seahawks and Rams games, I don't care if the Rams have 0 wins. I don't care if the Seahawks have 0 wins. This game is always going to be good. These teams too. This is like the new generation rivalry in the past 5-6 years. The Rams ended up winning this game. Todd Gurley, holy shit, will get 5 yards every fucking carry. I don't know why they don't just I know they're making people respect the run and then they could throw it over the top and stuff like that, but holy shit, Todd Gurley is getting 6 yards every first down. That makes these 2nd and 4. That makes it easy to throw these little dump offs. Oh, we didn't get the dump off, we'll just hand it off again. First down. It just happens constantly, and he has the possibility of getting a 20-yard run and turning that 20-yard run into a touchdown. The Rams are fantastic on offense. That goes without saying. Seahawks, on the other hand, Russell Wilson looked like he had the killer instinct. He's like, we're not losing. We need to win this game for this division, for us, for the NFC. We need to win this game. And he did everything in his power, but it was not going his way. And, a couple turnovers happened late in the game and put him out of it. And, they kept, even after those turnovers, some teams would just put their heads down and just give up. But the Seahawks actually stayed with it as long as they could. I got to give it to them. But LA wins this game 36-31 in LA. Tough game. Very, very good, entertaining game. Dolphins at Packers. I actually, in one of my pick'em leagues, I picked the Dolphins because I was behind, but I knew the Packers were going to win. You're in Lambeau Field. You're going against Miami. Who does Miami have to stop Aaron Rodgers? I'm just going to give you guys a couple seconds to think about that. And if you legit thought about at least 2 people while I was saying that, okay, maybe you know football better than me, but I don't know anyone on the Dolphins that can really stop Aaron Rodgers. Yes, their defense is decent in Miami, but you're not going to stop the home crowd in Lambeau unless you're a very, very good team. So yeah, the Packers just looked very good in this game. Their defense looked good. The defense is really underrated. I'm not saying it's good, but a lot of people just think it's like they just let teams score and just let Aaron Rodgers on the field, but they sometimes get some big turnovers. And I think the Green Bay Packers are starting to kind of say, hey, let's get a defense. If we can get a defense and a decent running back, maybe Aaron Rodgers bring us to the Super Bowl again. When they went to the Super Bowl with Donald Driver and all those guys, they had a good team. They had a good defense, and Aaron Rodgers just really had to worry about being a quarterback. He didn't have to worry about being the whole offense, so Packers ended up whooping on Miami in Green Bay, 31-12. Moving into the Cowboys at Eagles, wow, I could not believe this, Cowboys ended up winning this one in Philly, 27-20. Ezekiel Elliott had a heyday. Dak Prescott was throwing it more than 10 yards. Philly just kind of looked slow. In the beginning, they looked very good. And I think I don't know, maybe they got tired. I don't know if they got tired. You know what I mean? It's just like they didn't look like the Philadelphia Eagles who won the Super Bowl last year. I think they got the Super Bowl hangover. I really like the Eagles. I know someone close to me is very, very good fan of the Eagles, and he says this team is very talented, and I believe him. They on all aspects of the field they have good players, but they got to be able to say let's do this again rather than all right, we already won the Super Bowl, let's just chill. Why don't they just go for two mentality kind of thing? Yeah, so Cowboys just looked very good. Their defense looked decently all right. Van Der Esch, I think, had an interception. But, the Cowboys ended up winning this game. It was pretty convincing. That NFC East is no joke this year. The Redskins are good. Philly's good. Cowboys kind of play like this every game. It's hard, It's going to be a pretty good end scenery there in the NFC East. I still think the Redskins might come out on top, but the Eagles might catch up. The Giants at 49ers game for Monday night. Giants ended up winning this one 27-23. Odell had like 2 touchdowns. I know that because he beat me in fantasy. Eli Manning is not the scapegoat. I am tired of hearing people saying, "Oh, no, it's Eli." Yes, he's a part of it some games. But you got to realize these people, he's not the only one doing shit. Like this line, if he had a better line, maybe he'd have more time to throw. Do you think Eli's going to be mobile? Eli hasn't been mobile. Maybe his rookie year he was semi-mobile. But ever since, he's always been a pocket passer. I don't know why everyone's like, "Oh, he can't get out of the pocket." It's like they're looking at people like Russell. He's not Russell Wilson. He won you 2 Super Bowls without being that Russell Wilson guy. He was Eli Manning. You got to let Eli Manning be Eli Manning. So I don't think Eli Manning should be the scapegoat. The 49ers and, God, I totally forgot the 49ers quarterback. It's going to haunt me. But Greg Kittle is getting a lot of touches. I was watching this game. He looked like he was the only one getting the ball. Him and Kyle Juszczyk were the only ones getting the ball. And they were turning points, they were turning yards in the good scenarios for that team, but it just was not working. They couldn't obviously get the win, but, they scored 23, and the 49ers are not no pushover. I like how they do that. I like how the 49ers are a team who says, all right, even though we're not the best team in the league, we acknowledge that, but we're still going to fucking run the ball right down your throat. We're still going to do everything, and that's why I really respect them. And I think that's why I don't really respect the Raiders, because it's just like they don't look too, they just, I hate to bring up the Raiders when I already got done talking about them, but they just don't look like they're trying anymore. Yes, they did that fake punt. That was pretty cool. Last week against the Chargers, that was really cool. But that's like that was the highlight of the game. So the Giants ended up winning this one 27-23 in Santa Clara. I think that's where the field is, Levi Stadium. Yeah. So now it is time for the weekly picks of this week. So tonight at 8:30 or 8:20 Eastern Standard, so about 5 o'clock over here on Pacific Standard Time, we got the Packers at Seahawks. I got to go Seahawks. As much as I want to pick Aaron Rodgers, I don't know. They just, this is always a good game. I don't give a shit. Like, it's just like the Rams and Seahawks. It's going to be a good game. These guys do not like each other. So I think it's going to be a good game, but I think the fans in Seattle give Seahawks just that edge. And I think that loss about when they just played the Rams, I think that's just going to be enough for them to be like, all right, hey, we almost had the Rams. Let's fucking just whoop on the Packers. We stop Aaron Rodgers. We don't got to worry about like a Todd Gurley or nothing. So I think they're going to be fine. They do have to worry about Devontae Adams on the edge. That is going to be a big issue, but we'll see how that goes from there. Bengals at Ravens. I'm going to go Ravens. This is no bias. I just think the Ravens are on like a 4-game. They haven't won in like 28 days. I think they got to win at home against these Bengals. If they watch that Saints tapes and see what these Bengals are not used to, I think the Ravens can win this game. I think Joe Flacco is going to get fire on all cylinders. This could bite me in the ass. Being a fan is hard to not pick them every week, but this week as a weekly take host, I still do think the Ravens win this game. I think they take advantage of that defensive line in Cincinnati. I think the offense gives Flacco some time. Lamar Jackson. Actually, wait, whoa. Lamar Jackson could be playing this week. Holy shit, I totally forgot about that. Joe Flacco has a hip injury and could not play this game. Wow. Moving into that, if Lamar comes in and, gets these fans excited, they're going to be loud as fuck. This team is going to be firing. They're going to be ready. They're going to be blocking for him. He's going to be making some plays, but he could very well fuck it up. He could very well go in there and be a rookie and throw some picks and cause a game, and that could happen. But I still like the defense against the Bengals. They got to stop AJ Green. They got to stop Joe Mixon. They got to stop Eifert. They got to stop some really good players so we'll see how that goes. John Ross is good too. So I'm really excited to see how the Ravens do this week. But I'm still gonna pick the Ravens, even with Lamar Jackson starting. If he starts. Moving into the Cowboys at Falcons, I'm going to go Cowboys. If they played like they did against Philly, I think they're going to beat a lot of teams. If Ezekiel Elliott does that good that every week, they're good. Dak Prescott throws it more than 10 yards, they're going to win. That defense stops them on third down, they're going to win. I know that goes for every team. You could say that, well, if they have a good run game and if any team does that, they're going to win. Duh. But I'm just saying, I think the Cowboys are really one-dimensional, and I think if they stay two-dimensional, three-dimensional, they're going to win against these Falcons. The Falcons are really one-dimensional lately with the pass game. Tevin Coleman's doing very great. I love Tevin Coleman, but I don't know. Maybe they come back and win after the embarrassing loss in Cleveland. I think it's going to be a good game, but I still think the Cowboys are going to win. Bucks at Giants, I can't pick the Bucks this year with all that quarterback drama and with all their... I really love Mike Evans, and I love that offense, but I still got to go Giants. Odell looked fantastic last game. I think he goes and does it again. I think the 49ers defense is better than the Bucks. The Bucks don't have a Richard Sherman covering Odell, so I just think he's going to have even better day. Sterling Shepard's going to get open. Evan Ingram's going to get open. Saquon's going to run to the outside. Eli's going to get some time. I really think the Giants are going to win this game. Moving into the Steelers at Jags, this was a good game last January, but it's not that anymore. I think the Steelers whoop on the Jaguars. I don't think Blake Bortles does good at all. I think Leonard Fournette has a good game, but I just think the Steelers are firing on all cylinders this year, or this part of the season they are. So I'm going to go Steelers against the Jaguars. Moving into the Texans at Redskins, this is a good game. I could almost flip a coin on this game. The Texans are coming off a bye, so I'm going to take the Texans off coming off a bye, going into Washington and winning. Washington just did come off that win against the Bucks, but that's the Bucks. The Bucks didn't have a DeAndre Hopkins, Lamar Miller, and Deshaun Watson. So this is a true test of this Washington Redskins defense, I think. But I like the edge on the offensive side. I like J.J. Watt on their defensive side with Jadeveon Clowney, with the Honey Badger back in free safety spot. I really like the Texans when they're playing good. The beginning of the year, I was like, wow, these guys are horrible, and then they won like 5 straight. So I think the Texans, if they ride that momentum, I think they will whoop on the Redskins. Moving into the Titans at Colts, both these teams are kind of on the up right now. Both these teams are, they're not going to win the Super Bowl, but they're not a pushover in the AFC. I think I want to go with the Colts. I'm going to go the Colts at home with Andrew Luck, Marlon Mack, T.Y. Hilton. I just really like that team. Eric LeBron is what I call him. Eric Ebron and Jack Doyle are very good people on the offensive side. I don't think the Titans are going to be able to stop that. So I'm going to go the Colts. And I think that I'm going to stick with that, and that's my gut saying that. So I'm going to go with the Colts. Moving into the Panthers at Lions, I got to go Panthers. I will not pick the Lions unless they play the damn Cardinals, Jets, or the Raiders. Those are the only probably teams I would pick the Detroit Lions over, or pick the Lions over than the said team. I just think the Panthers, Cam Newton's pretty pissed off about that loss last week. I don't think Detroit's gonna give him a game. Cam Newton's unstoppable. No matter what defense you have, he's gonna do his thing, and I think he's gonna take care of business in Detroit this week. Moving into Denver at LA Chargers. I got to go Chargers, a divisional game. The Chargers are too tough. I think they're trying to convince everyone that they're an AFC contender. The Broncos are a decent team. They're one of those average. It's like one of those teams you kind of forget about kind of teams. I love the Broncos, but, I got to go Chargers this week. Phillip Rivers, I think, is going to throw 4 touchdowns. The Broncos could, limit that to 2. It could be a low-scoring game, a divisional game, afternoon game. A lot of people are going to be watching. But I just really like the LA Chargers this week. Moving into the Raiders at Cardinals, I'm going Cardinals. I don't care who the Raiders are playing. I would pick Alabama over the Raiders right now. I know that's going to bite me in the ass, and that karma's going to bite me for being rooted to an NFL team. But you know what? I like the Cardinals. I like David Johnson. I like Josh Rosen. I like Larry Fitzgerald. I really like Pat Pete on the defensive side. I just like the Cardinals over the Raiders, so I've got to go Cardinals. There's nothing I really have good to say about the Raiders other than Derek Carr is a pretty cool guy. Marshawn Lynch is cool, but I think he's still injured. But it's not about who's cool. It's about who's going to win the game, and I think Arizona's going to win this game. Moving into the Eagles at Saints, this is going to be a good game. This would have been a good game last playoff last playoff year, if the Vikings wouldn't have got that miracle play, I think this would have been a very good game. I still think the Eagles would have won, but this is a new year, and I shouldn't be talking about that. I think the Saints are going to win this game in New Orleans. They have a running game. They have two good running backs to start. They have Michael Thomas, who's a probably top 7 receiver in the league. And some would say that's because of Drew Brees, but, I think that's a big help. He's kind of like a Devonta Adams. Like, I would like to see what they would be like with a Ryan Fitzpatrick, but I still think he's got the tangibles to be a very good receiver, and he is a very good receiver. Their defense is good. I like their trickery. I like how they're really switching the offensive side. It's really cool. I really like the Saints this year, but the Eagles' defense is very good. Carson Wentz is back. Alshon Jeffrey's healthy. Their run game's, pretty good in Philly. I just like the edge in New Orleans with the home crowd. That's basically why I think I'm going to pick them. It's pretty even. Saints with a slight edge even before the home crowd advantage. I just really like the Saints this year. So I got to go Saints. Vikings at Bears for Sunday night. I'm going to go Bears. I really thought the Vikings would be a lot better this year. But they're not. They're not that good. Kirk Cousins is very one-dimensional. He has very good receivers, and he's a very good quarterback. But I just really like the defense against the Vikings this year, so I got to go Bears. Mitchell Trubisky, I think, is going to throw some very good throws, and I think their defense is going to get some good stops and get to the quarterback. So I got to go Bears. Moving into the Monday night game, this could be one of the very best games of the whole week. I think it is the best game, and it's a shame that it's on Monday. I know a lot of people don't like ESPN and hosting and all that stuff and all that drama, but this could be a good game. But I'm going Rams. I don't think the Chiefs are going to be able to stop Todd Gurley. I know the Chiefs are going to be able to keep up. I know they're going to be able to score. This very well could be like 41-48. It could go either way, but I like the Rams at home in USC Stadium. All those fans are going to be roaring, and Todd Gurley is going to be all over the place. Man, I think Todd Gurley is the difference maker. The Chiefs have Kareem Hunt. They have Tyreek Hill. They have Patrick Mahomes, who's leading the league in passing yards this year. But Todd Gurley's leading the rushing yards, and Kareem Hunt's 4th. But you know what? I just really – and then, okay, look at it this way. Patrick Mahomes is leading the league in passing yards by 16 yards ahead Jared Goff. These two quarterbacks are going against each other, the two of the hottest quarterbacks in the league. And then you got Todd Gurley, who's above the rush. He's whooping on Kareem Hunt rushing yards. But, you go 2 down, Ezekiel Elliott, James Conner, then there's Kareem Hunt right there. So, you look at that, but then you look at the receiving for the Chiefs. You got Tyreek Hill with 891 total yards. That's 5th in receiving in the NFL. So it kind of makes up for it. This is going to be a very offensive game, and I can't wait to see what it's like. It's going to be a fantasy fucking outlook. It could watch it be like 9-6. Yeah, that would be fucking funny, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be offensive craziness. So those are my picks this week for the Weekly Take Week 11. So if we could move into the NBA standings, let's get some NBA standings and some stats. Actually, whoa. I totally forgot about something. Okay, actually what we're going to do is we're going to talk about these 2 Super Bowl teams. I have 4 Super Bowl teams, 2 from the NFC, 2 from the AFC. And I want you guys, I don't know who's watching and, how many comments I'll get, but, this is something I've really liked to do for a long time. So for the first NFC team, I have the 2013 Seattle Seahawks starter roster and players. And I'm just going to go through this roster, and then I'm going to go through the other roster in the AFC, and that would be the 2007 Indianapolis Colts. So I'm basically putting these two in a scenario. If these 2 teams were to play, who would win? Because, obviously these teams didn't play each other. I'm not going to go like this current Eagles team against, 1970s crazy leg Hirsch. Obviously the Philly Eagles would win, the evolution of the game. These players are bigger, and that's not what it's about. I'm going to do like the past 20 years and teams going against each other. Maybe if a team didn't lose this player in the postseason, maybe they would have won. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm playing the what-if game. So to start off with the 2013 Seattle Seahawks roster, we got Russell Wilson, Marshawn Lynch, Doug Baldwin, Golden Tate, Zach Miller, Russell Okung in the line, James Carpenter, Max Unger, Sweezy. That's a fantastic line. Moving into their defense, they got Red Bryant, Chris Clemens, Brandon Mebane, Tony McDaniel, Bobby Wagner, Bruce Irvin, Malcolm Smith, KJ Wright, Richard Sherman, Brandon Browner, Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas. This is probably one of the best teams of all time. You look at that defense, and as soon as it starts from Brandon Mebane down, everyone knows who those players are. I mean, some people would be like, who's KJ Wright probably, or who's Brandon Browner? But these fucking teams, man, they're fucking fantastic. And most of these guys were picked within 3 years. You know, you look at Earl Thomas, he was picked 2010. Cam Chancellor was picked 2010. And then a year later, they pick up KJ Wright, Malcolm Smith, Bruce Irvin in the class. And then they go and pick up Bobby Wagner and Brandon Mebane. It's fantastic, man. It's just, I really love their draft class. Brandon Browner was undrafted. Chris Clemens was undrafted. Doug Baldwin was undrafted. This team is fantastic. It could have been something even greater if it wasn't for the following year's mess up in Arizona against New England. But I would like to see that defense go against Peyton Manning, Joseph Adai, Benu Tech, Anthony Gonzalez, Reggie Wayne, Dallas Clark, and that line against Peyton, getting to Peyton Manning with Dwight Freeney on the offense or the defense, Robert Mathis, Edward Johnson, Kelvin Hayden, Marlon Jackson, Bob Sanders, and Antoine Bethea in his prime with Adam Vinatieri. That's a pretty good team. But okay, I thought this was pretty equal going into it, but I still think the Seahawks would whoop on this team. I just really like Pete Carroll. Tony Dungy's a very good coach, but I just think that I just really think this 2013 Seattle Seahawks team could beat a lot of teams. So I think I'm going to go the Seattle Seahawks against the Colts because I like their defense against Peyton Manning. Dwight Freeney, Robert Mathis, and all them would stop Russell Wilson, but I don't think these guys played someone like Marshawn Lynch. Actually, yes, they did. There was a lot of good big running backs back then, but I just don't think that defense would stop the starters on the Seahawks. So I got to go Seattle Seahawks on this one. The 2013 Seattle Seahawks would beat the 2007 Indianapolis Colts, I think, without a doubt. So for the last matchup, for the NFC side, I have the 2011 Green Bay Packers. And for the New England Patriots, I already kind of spoiled it, the 2015 New England Patriots. This was kind of inspired by watching the Green Bay New England game last week. I wanted to see, I want to see what the best Tom Brady team, actually, arguably, probably the best Tom Brady teams when they had Moss and all that, but I really do think this team they had in 2015 was very good. And I do think the 2011 Green Bay Packers team was very good. And I think, so to start off, the 2011 Packers did win the Super Bowl against the Steelers. And the 2015 Patriots, I believe, won the Super Bowl against Atlanta. I think this is the Atlanta team. I think this might actually be the team they lost to the Giants. I don't remember. I wish I would have written that down. But to start it off, you got Aaron Rodgers, Ryan Grant, who's a semi-decent running back. You give Aaron Rodgers a running back, he's going to, it's going to help him. Donald Driver, Greg Jennings, Jordy Nelson, Tom Crabtree, Jermichael Finley. Those 5 guys can turn 5 yards into a touchdown. I'm not really too sure about Tom Crabtree, but he's got, he was pretty good. But this team was fantastic. Jordy Nelson had 15 touchdowns this year. He was a fantasy monster that year. That line had Josh Shitton, Brian Beluga, Scott Wells, TJ Lang, Marshall Newhouse. Those guys gave him fucking time. Aaron Rodgers don't need that much time either. So you give him extra time, he's going to find someone to get open. If you have Greg Jennings, Jordy Nelson, Jermichael Finley, Donald Driver getting open, someone's going to get open. Moving to their defensive side, they got B.J. Raji, Clay Matthews, Desmond Bishop, A.J. Hawk, Charles Woodson, Tramon Williams, Morgan Burnett, and then as their kicker, Mason Crosby, very good kicker. Still is a very good kicker. So that team ended up going 15-1, and they won their division. Mike McCarthy, head coach, points for 560. That offense was electric. Moving into the 2015 New England Patriots, we have Tom Brady, Julian Edelman, Keshawn Martin, Rob Gronkowski, Sebastian Vollmer, Shaq Mason, David Andrews, Trey Jackson. You look at this team and you're like, wow, who else did they have? They had a lot of people who would just come in and just do their fucking role. And that's the thing about the Patriots. They come in and I don't care if you're fucking 5'8". If you can catch the ball and turn the ball 5 yards to 10, we want you on our team. And that's why I really like the Patriots, even though I don't really like them. I respect that they have that going for them. Their defense had Chandler Jones, Rob Ninkovich, Alan Branch, Malcolm Brown, Jamie Collins, Dante Hightower, Jared Mayo, Malcolm Butler, Patrick Chung, Devin McCourty, and Gostkowski. This team scored 465. Head coach, obviously, Bill Belichick. Looking at this now, I think it's almost unfair to put this Green Bay Packers team against them. This team, you look at this Green Bay Packers team, who would have beat this fucking team? This team was stacked. The Steelers, it was a good matchup in the Super Bowl, but wow. I'm looking at this now, and I don't think this New England Patriots team could stop this offense. They're fantastic. So I got to go 2011 Green Bay Packers over the 2015 New England Patriots. So before I totally tried to go cut to the NBA right away because I was super excited and whatever. So now we are going to talk some NBA standings, some NBA drama to end the show, really. So let's start with the NBA. Like, who's leading the NBA right now? So you got the Toronto Raptors on top, and then you got the Milwaukee Bucks at second place. Those two teams are going to go to the playoffs. It's almost written in stone. So with the Pacers, the Celtics, and the Sixers. Those teams are going to go. The bottom teams in the East, like the Pistons, the Hornets, the Magic, the Heat, the Nets, the Wizards, the Bulls. And who would have thought? Cleveland Cavaliers. After LeBron left, they are the worst team in the league. That is fucking ridiculous. You look at that team. They were in the NBA championship with one dude there. That guy made all those players around him better. And that's amazing. I got to hand it to him. And I think that's why he should have won MVP. He was fantastic. So enough on the LeBron train. Let's talk about what teams are going to be decent, I think, in the playoffs other than the powerhouses of, Toronto. I think the Bucks are a powerhouse if they play like this every week. The Celtics. I think the Detroit Pistons could sneak one. Maybe they could come and, snag a couple wins in a playoff series. I know I'm talking about playoffs super already, but, the standings are fucking really crazy. Sorry, I have to yawn here. In the East, a lot of teams are really similar, and I know it's very, very early in the season, but I'm very excited to see how this will go. The Pacers have a very good bright spot, and so do the Sixers with Jimmy Butler now. I think they could... these two teams are not pushovers in the East. The East is not the least this year. I still don't think they're better than the West, but the East is very close. I look at the bottom end of the West, and that I think is what outweighs the bottom end of the East. The bottom end of the East from, Miami down to Miami, Brooklyn, Washington, Chicago, New York, Atlanta, Cleveland. I go to the West and look at San Antonio, Utah, New Orleans, Houston, Dallas, Minnesota, Phoenix. Those teams will whoop on every one of those teams, so that's why I give the West the power. I'm not saying the good teams in the East aren't as good as the good teams in the West. The West won last year, technically, Golden State. So to move into the West side, you got Golden State, 12-3, Portland Trailblazers, 10-4. Then you got Denver, then Oklahoma, Memphis, LA, Los Angeles. You have these Los Angeles has a better record than the San Antonio Spurs, Utah Jazz, New Orleans Pelicans, Houston. I don't really know what to say about the NBA. It's so early in the year this year. So to move on to the stat assets of the NBA, let's go look at the complete leaders offense. You got Steph Curry leading the league with 29.5 points. LeBron James 27.6. Joel Embiid with 27.6. Kevin Durant 27.5. James Harden 27.3. You look at this, and then another thing, we did this last year. Golden State's got two top leading scorers on their team. They're fantastic. I love the Golden State Warriors. It's fun to watch them, but it's annoying to see how good they are. Then you got LeBron in LA. Well, that's going to happen. You got Joel Embiid, I think, is the second best player in the East behind Kawhi Leonard. But he's right there with him. So then you go into the assists. You got Kyle Lowry, Jrue Holiday, John Wall, Trae Young. Trae Young, that's pretty cool. But Kyle Lowry's balling out. He's loving Kawhi Leonard. I know he's missing DeMar, but you know what? He's loving Kawhi Leonard. They're going to go far this year, I think. You got rebounds. You got Andre Drummond, Hassan Whiteside, DeAndre Jordan, Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid's leading points, rebounds, Let's see. No, he's not. He's not winning in blocks. But wow, he's leading in points and rebounds. That's 13.4 rebounds a game. Jesus, dude, Joel Embiid is balling out. Actually, you know what? Nope. Joel Embiid is the best player in the East, above Kyrie, above Kawhi, above Gordon Hayward, above Ben Simmons, above Jimmy Butler. There now, he's the best player. Yeah, I even put him above Giannis. I truly do, and I think Joel Embiid's the best player in the league right now. On the East side, I got to go KD as the best player in the West. Right behind him is LeBron. But that is the show this week. I'm going to end it on the 40 mark about this week. Thank you guys so much for listening. Next week, I will be sure to talk a little more about NBA. But this week is a little more NFL heavy. I'm sorry for the 2-week delay. Some stuff got in the way. But you know what? We're back every Thursday. It's going to still be posted on YouTube and SoundCloud. Thank you guys so much for listening. It means the entire world to me. We're in a new location. Thank you guys again. Have a great one.